the Red Sea tonight. Everybody's on either side. And you, both of you sit in the corners. No one's right in front of me tonight. Hey, we have a minion. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I'm should offer a thank you also for continuing to want to pray more after these past few days where we've been doing a lot of praying together. I did think about before services began, would this be my first Shabbat in Baton Rouge where we didn't have a minion? But it's a moot point because we have more than a minion. So very exciting that we have the opportunity to come together. A little bit more relaxed feeling during Shabbat than Yom Kippur. But thank you all for such a wonderful, wonderful, spiritually uplifting high holiday experience. For those of you who are with us either in person or on YouTube for the high holidays, I promise you tonight the music will not be as good because Spencer has hit the road. But how great it was to have him with us during our high holidays. But let us welcome Shabbat together. Let us celebrate. Let us continue the wonderful moments we've had over the past few weeks. This morning, when there must have been something in the air. I don't know if anybody else felt it today. But when I did Tot Shabbat with the Rainer kids, they had more energy than they've had sitting in this space. I don't know if it was because the wall was still open and the other room was kind of empty and they all had to look around, but the amount of energy they had. One kid started crying because I didn't jump in right away with Bim Bam and it started with something else, and so you know that they really feel that Shabbat feel. He literally said, but I want to be singing, because we did a little activity first. So everybody has their own way to enter into Shabbat. Let us try to create that same spirit, that same ruach, even though nobody is sitting. They were all right here, but no one is sitting where my Rainer friends were sitting. But let us sing that same song together to celebrate Shabbat. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. They definitely had a lot more energy than, and there are more of you, well, I don't know, it might be about the same amount, but you know, those 2s and 3s and 4-year-olds had a lot more energy. Do we think we can have more energy? Should we try it? With them, I do hand motions. I know some of my friends over there were doing them too. If I do the hand motions, will we have more energy? Let's try. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Okay, that was a little better, but I still think I'm going to give it to my under 5 friends with the ruach they had as we entered Shabbat this morning with them. Let us now enter Shabbat together with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. The blessing can be found in our blue prayer books, which hopefully you either had one magically appear or was on the bookshelf as you came in. If anybody needs one, let us know. And our Shabbat candle blessing is found on page 120. And I was so excited to greet people that I didn't invite anybody to light our Shabbat candles. So does anybody want to volunteer to come forward and light our Shabbat candles? Please, please, come on. I liked the ruach. Sure, if you want to.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher tishani b'mitzvotav v'tzivai v'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, thank you. Let us read together on page 124 at the bottom. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Let us turn now to page 130 and sing together. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekad mafenav betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bezmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, ladonai. Let us continue in the English, which begins on the bottom of this page. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. In God's hands are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea, God made it, in the land which God's hands fashioned. Come, let us bow down and kneel. Bend the knee before Adonai, our Maker, for Adonai is our God, and we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. Let us now welcome the Sabbath presence with the words of Lacha Dodi, page 138. We'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to that 9th verse, if you are comfortable, I'll invite you to rise, to face the door which we all entered, to metaphorically greet the Shabbat bride to our presence. Page 138. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shemu tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'maksheva techila lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela hitoreri kiva orech kumi ori uri shir daberi kevod Adonai laich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvesohola toch emunei am segula boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Let us continue the theme of welcoming with the words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzeitchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We've greeted the Sabbath bride into our community. We've greeted those Shabbat ministering angels. Now let us pause and take a moment to greet each other. So I invite you, if you want, to stand up and wish someone who maybe is not sitting right next to you a Shabbat Shalom, to find someone who maybe you haven't talked to yet today, and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I knew this is what would get the Ruach flowing, right? The conversation moments during the services. After you wish each other a Shabbat Shalom with a handshake or with a wave from across the room, I invite you to go back to your seats and turn with me to page 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divrach lirotev yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Yisrael Bagala bagala uvizman kariv ve'imeru Yahei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olam Ameya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitroman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudashah Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma ve'imeru. As we turn the page, I invite you to please rise. Seated. Let us read together at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 151, we continue together in the middle. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. As we turn the page, I invite you, if you'd like to rise for Shema, to do so. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated as we continue chanting together on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha be'kol lavavcha u'bechol nafshecha u'bechol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvleftecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kidoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti atchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 157 at the top. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together, and turning the page and singing. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seifele, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seifele. Let us read together on the top of page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Let us remind ourselves about the celebration of Shabbat. We're told to shamor and to zachor, to remember and to guard. And for many, those mean the same things in regards to Shabbat. But in Jewish tradition, they meant very, very different things. Some of us do different things to guard and to remember Shabbat. They're also one of the reasons why we have two candles in front of us and not just one. One representing guarding and one representing remembering. So whatever those words mean for you, let us think about. We just finished our Shabbat of Shabbats, Yom Kippur, and what it means for you to keep these moments throughout time. Think about them as we sing together on page 162. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. As we turn the page to page 164, and we enter our Amidah, our most central prayers of our evening tefillah, our prayers that remind us of the people who came before us, that remind us of the strength of God, and allow us to think to the future, trying to create those moments of holiness. Whatever those things mean for you, I invite you to find those aspects as we get lost together in these words. We'll chant together the Hebrew on the right-hand side of the page, beginning on page 164, and I invite you to please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot Imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh Hako Atah Le'oshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim B'chesed, Mechayeh Hakol Berachamim Rabim, so make no fleeing Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayeh Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'gevurot, Umido Bela, Melech Lemit, Umekayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh. I invite you to continue silently, either the words you find on the page until page 180, or the words you have in your own hearts this evening, and you may be seated whenever you wish. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. As together we pray for shalom, we pray for peace. Many of us right now in this space might be feeling that sense of peace. But we know there are those both with us this evening, in our families, our neighbors, our friends, our community, and across the world, who are having a little bit of trouble finding their peace. And possibly it's because they suffer illness. Illness of body, illness of spirit, or illness of mind. So we turn our prayers now to those in need of healing. Our UJCBR prayer of healing can be found on page 371. This evening, as a community, we think of the following people in need of healing: Joy Lewis, Lucy Silva, Minna Bat-Yentl, Mordechai Ben-Dina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Friedel Tamara Bat-Liba Bela, Menucha Pesa Bat-Cherny Umoshe, Gretchen Haynes, Dorian Reeson, Steve Sinkoff, Linda Weinstein, Louis Newman, Ruby Smolinski, Lee Kaplan, Jennifer Casson, and Vicki Firstel. If there are others you are thinking of this evening, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. We think of those names we've heard aloud and those whom we hold in our hearts as we pray for all in need of healing. UJCBR Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. UJCBR imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So I believe that when one hears a sermon, the purpose of a sermon is to then talk about it. And I don't mean if you liked it or if you didn't like it, you can tell me that later, and I don't care which one, if you liked it or you didn't like it. I mean, I do care, but you know what I mean. You're allowed to not like it. But something I wanted us to do, and maybe this will be our new tradition that we do on the Shabbat, Friday night Shabbat after our high holidays. I'm going to pass them out. Thank you. Is have a moment to think about the themes that I shared during the high holidays. So even if you didn't hear my sermons, like you, because you were leading your own services, like that, you guys heard about them, or if you weren't here, or you fell asleep, which is okay too, whatever it was, these are just some. Did we get two in the back? Oh, you got it? Okay. Does everybody have one? So you don't need to have heard them. And again, you could have taken a nap during that time. But I wanted us during this, instead of hearing more from me tonight, wanted to have an opportunity for us to figure out what this meant for us. And maybe it meant nothing for you, but have a little discussion about it. So what you have on your handout are a few excerpts from my high holiday sermons. They're labeled with when they were given. If you weren't here or if you phased out or whatever, there are some titles which might help you remember or think about what they were about. And I just want us to have an opportunity to discuss. I'll be honest, on my, let's see, it was my Rosh Hashanah morning sermon, I actually asked everybody to email me. I've got not one email. So, apparently
wood chopper that in the water carried all the young people. And one of the commentaries, which I thought was so incredibly interesting and really beautiful, was that the Hebrew command in that portion, reading, is in the second person plural. I took a picture of it because that's what was so, suggesting that individuals cannot attain holiness alone. We can rise to this level only in community, supported by the efforts of those around us. Holiness is not a private affair. It is not a one-on-one encounter with divinity. Rather, holiness describes a society in which relationships are grounded in eternal values. The Hebrew term for synagogue, in Hebrew Kadesha, congregation, derives from this communal notion of sanctity. And I thought that was like so beautiful, though, that Hebrew
sermons are meant to be discussion points, to be talked about. So my goal is to either make you think about something, or to make you angry, or any of the things, or have other questions, or this year, obviously, the theme for all 4 of them had to do with where we are right now as a community and building together, and how we're not going to be perfect, and how there isn't a way we've always done it because we're brand new, and how we need to be in a relationship with each other. For some people, it was their first time ever in this space and around these people. And then how, for me, how fear plays a role in when there's so much change going on around us, and unfortunately, like Paula said, in the world we're living in right now. So thank you all for sharing. If there are other things you are thinking of and you want to talk to me privately, I love those conversations, so feel free. Friends, if you're on YouTube and you couldn't participate in this and you want to talk, please call me, email me, let's have a conversation, because I really think that there's only so much that can happen with me standing here looking out at hundreds of people giving a sermon, but the work can be done when we're together. Yeah, Gus?
Were you surprised no one emailed you about it?
A little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that no one emailed
What
me.
would you have done with those emails? Like, well, I mean, would it have had any outcome?
So right now, I'm like, a lot of my thinking is a lot of experimenting, right? Like my perfectly imperfect sermon was giving me permission to experiment and fail, right? And have people tell me, no, I don't like that. And so my hope was that people would have emailed me their, what I called their low beams, because of the story I used to begin the sermon. And then I would maybe get a little bit of insight from the people to see what is their, like, this is the reason I'm part of the Jewish community, right? And then I also think that it's a lot easier when things are changing if you are, like, in relationship with people. And so if people would have emailed me and then maybe that low beam got reconstructed, then I'm able to talk to them before it gets reconstructed, right? And so there's a lot of things that, so if there is something, right, that is your, like, if you change this, you've ruined Judaism for me, right? Like, I don't know if there's moments. We had that, the clergy team I was on in Kansas had a conversation, and a few of you have heard me say this, the first COVID high holidays, when we had to realize how to make what should be 2-hour services, but for us this year we're 3 and 4 hour services, and I do apologize, and next year they probably hopefully won't be, but into big 45-minute services, because that's the only attention span we had for people on their TVs. And we asked the question, like, what is it about the high holidays that if we take it out, people will be like, the rabbis ruined the high holidays? And so it's that kind of question. Like, I want to hear from people, what is it about being part of this particular Jewish community that is why they're still so active? And so then we can figure out kind of a little bit more into people's kishkas.
Did you, have you had a chance to read any of the, like, notes from the meetings from when we were having the exploration?
Yes. That was, so I'll say, even during the interview process, one of the things that I loved was how transparent all of those things were, because they were all posted on, like, the entire task force posted every little thing. I could read about everything from the budget to the decisions about building to the decisions about using this prayer book, and the UPB that's still on our shelf and things like that. Yeah. Any other? Well, we can definitely continue these conversations. Our high holidays are not over yet, but I'm not going to take Lindsay's thunder to some of the announcements later. But just remember, they're not over yet. So you will see in a moment when we open the Ark, our Torah covers are still white because we will change them after Simchat Torah. But let us return to our prayer books and conclude our service. So we're going to turn to the words of Aleinu, page 586. Anybody want to come up and help? I don't know where. Do you want to help me? Yeah? Come on up. Do Toby and Ari want to help? Okay, we're going to walk all the way up those stairs, okay? Very cool, I like them. I like the pink shoes too. Okay, come over here. I'm going to invite everyone 586 to please rise. Can you put your hand up here? Do you want to help me open this big door here? Ready? This side. This way. Can you push? Can you push? Toby, Ari, come on up. Can you push this all the way up? Keep pushing this way. You going to come help open? It needs hands. Awesome. And then you're both gonna stay up here with me, okay? Stand right here. You guys ready? Page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, l'teiknidu l'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kikoyei haratzot, v'lo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu horim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Turn the page. Shehu notei shamayim ve'yosed haaretz u'Moshe v'yikaro b'shamayim ima'al u'shkinatu zo v'gohei meromim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efes ulato kakatuv b'torato vayadata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim ima'al ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Page 591. Ve'nemar ve'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Do we help close the ark? Let him go first, okay? Gentle. Do you know the button or do you want me to do it? Okay, push. Okay. You may be seated. Okay, do you want some candy? Do you want some candy? Is that okay? Yeah. Is it okay that she has candy? Take one. You can go back to your seat. Take one. You can go back to your seat.
I don't want to have to email you. I really like the two English paragraphs before you start the NAMR.
The Shehu, which we did not do at all during the high holidays.
Top of 591. The English.
Oh, the one we just didn't do?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Is there a reason that you like it? Is there a reason that you like it?
I mean, you can read it. I just read it and I think it's beautiful. Yeah. We haven't read the English.
We have. I've done it some weeks. On the top of the May we gain wisdom. Is that what it starts with? May we gain wisdom? Yeah. And then rise up like the sun. I think I've done it some weeks. Yeah, I think I've done it some weeks. Yeah. Okay, I like the vote. Yeah. I think I've done it sometimes. I think I've done something different almost every single week in the past 3 months. But I like that reading also. So, yeah. Yeah. That's also the joy of this book, right? So if everybody understands this prayer book we use, the right-hand side of the page is the more traditional prayer with the Hebrew and the more traditional, I'll say, English translation of that prayer. Whereas the left-hand side of the page, in most cases, unless there's a little blue line around it, is some interpretations and things we can add to the prayers. When you take pictures, it's normally the left-hand side of the page, I would say, right? Oh, and the bottom, which I haven't pointed us through that much here. But yeah, even below the line, there's some great things, some quotes and some text below the line. There's a lot of great stuff in the, I was going to call it new, but it's been out since like 2007, so I don't know if I'm still allowed to call that new.
There's
But
a part that we always do, we've always done, is Gus reads a part and we'll put pages on the bottom under
what are the under the line things?
He always,
Yeah, before the cuts.
Okay, well, we're about to enter the Kaddish, so.
the other, the
Oh, Hatzi Kaddish, not Mourner's Kaddish. Okay. Well, you'll have to show it to me. You'll have.
143. You've done it too.
I've done it before?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very small print.
Okay. Henry says I've done it. We'll come back to it. We'll circle back to it, right? So, but as our prayers draw to a close on this Shabbat evening, we turn our thoughts to our loved ones who are no more. Tonight, we think of the following people who passed away during the past year: Elizabeth Saxey, Marvin Bender, Donald Ostern, Elaine Garver, Robert Feldman, Eileen Burton, Virginia Gordon, Bruce Dunham, Jim Bowman, R.B. Dickerson, Moni Mayer, Joanne Strickler, Richard Berenson Stone, John Wormser, Robert Eisenbach, Jerry Suppos, Donald Kim, Hannah Bine, Nathan Zuckerman, and Bernie Flicker. We also think of those who died at this season in years past and whose family members are observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of death. Rose Marion Berg, Leon Binder, Seth Bombett, Julius Cavalier, Joseph Cicero, Donna Emick, Maurice Emick, Jaime Ginsberg, Blanche Hutt, Francis Jelinek, Josh Cantrow, Larry Mann, Lawrence Mann, Selma Marks, Mary Posner, Paul Roheim, Marilyn Rosenson, Beatrice Silverman, Alex Watsky, May Weil, Charles Zucker. If there are others you are thinking of this evening, I invite you to share their names aloud as my eyes meet yours. For all those names we heard aloud and those we hold in our hearts, we turn together to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 598, and I invite you to rise if you wish. Yit gadol v'kadash shemei rabba, be'alma divrach hirotev yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayed dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman karib v'imru. Amen. Yahei shmei rabba mevarach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yahei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be for a blessing. As together we say, Amen. You may be seated. I'm going to invite Lindsay as our representative of our Board of Trustees to share some announcements. Spoiler alert, it talks about Sukkot.
To help her. Oh, yeah, you're gonna come to me? Here, look. I'm gonna stand so you can see. Okay. Hello. These are our announcements for today, Friday, October 7th. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tomorrow, there will be a Torah study in the social hall at 9:30 a.m. in person and on Zoom. There will be a Shabbat minyan in the green room at 10 a.m. in person only. There will be services in the sanctuary at 10:30 a.m. in person and on YouTube. There will be a virtual-only Havdalah held on Zoom, hosted by the Saxey family. Sunday morning at 9 a.m., we welcome all to join in the building of the Sukkah. Also on Sunday morning, the Tikkun Olam Committee invites you to join together for snacks and postcard writing, benefiting the Every Voice, Every Vote campaign. Sukkot begins on Sunday evening. At 6 p.m., we will gather, for a brief service and we'll celebrate with a dairy potluck dinner. And then on Monday, we will have a Sukkot festival morning service beginning at 10:30 a.m. Shabbat Shalom. You say Shabbat Shalom?
Shabbat Shalom.
And one more little announcement. Next week, cover leave for Renee, by us for Nate's birthday. So come at 6 for birthday Renee.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. 6 o'clock, we'll have some bash next week. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's continue. Everybody's ruach has gone up and up and up and up throughout since we started with our bim bam. It's a little bit more mellow of a song, but let's end with Ma Yafeh Hayom, how great it is to be able to celebrate Shabbat 634, the one line of Hebrew at the bottom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Let us join together in Kiddush, page 123, and I invite you to rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tefila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mikach